Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. On my previous video, I talked about work beginning again here at Giga Texas and all the employees coming back, but I didn't get a chance to show you this image. The larger one shows you the east parking lot. The inset shows you the display that Tesla put out for the returning workers. They had the Model Y with the horns and also the Welcome Back Giga Texas sign at the main entrance. Pretty cool. And also in my previous video, I wasn't able to show, but a big event happened. As you can see by this image by Jeff Roberts, there was a big motorcade at the main entrance. And this was for the President of Hungary, and she was greeted by Elon Musk out at that new main entrance. So it's great that that was completed. This is a good view from the ground level of how that looks. And we've seen it from the drone view, but it's really neat to see how it looks in a completed form from the ground. This is the President and Elon walking in. You can see the reflection on that stone glass material that we talked about. And this is the interior just as you go through the glass doors. And you can see that it has transformed quite a bit, and they have more of that stone glass type material, or at least a black material on the ground near that reception desk. And also here's a view inside Giga Texas of the President and Elon and their entourage getting a tour of the factory. So a lot of news happening on this week as production gets ready to resume. Next, I'd like to address some recent reports on social media about a new cyber cafeteria at Giga Texas. And they point to this document on the left from the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation as the source document for the construction. And unfortunately, this is not completely accurate. Now, all of the permits to build have already been filed at the city of Austin, which is the permit site, and most of the work has been completed already. Now, you can see some of the details here on the right-hand side of the screen as far as the cost, the period of time, and the size. And also the actions and the construction that would take place. Now, the TDLR, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, is for worker accessibility and occupancy suitability for people. And the fact that this has just been filed now means that this facility that has been under construction for quite some time is nearing completion. And so it is about ready to be operational. Now, I want to also point out that this is most likely related to this structure on the far east near the battery cathode plant. This is that temporary kitchen that we saw being constructed about a year and a half ago, and it's been serving some of the needs for Giga Texas while this cafeteria was under construction. Now that this TDLR document has been filed, this may indicate that we'll see this kitchen starting to be demolished pretty soon. The last item that I want to update you on is a new permit that has been filed with the city of Austin. But this one's strange because it's not really a permit to build. It's more of a request for Austin Energy to help with an electric pole and a guide wire that is very close to where Giga Texas is already working on something called the Giga Water Loop, which I think is the underground storm water management system on the south side. Now, unfortunately, it says see attached update sheet for information, and that's not available on the public site. So if you look at this inset image, this is generally where I think that they are talking about. And there is a couple of different options. Options 1 and 2 here on the southeast side, you can see these smaller poles. There's some guide wires there. I don't really think that these are the ones that they're referring to, just because of their location and what is underneath there. Now, option 3 is more possible. This is near the South Bridge, and you can see with the image of where that's located. There are some pipes nearby this particular location where there is a guide wire for a pole. But again, I don't think this is exactly it. I think this is it. As you can see on this image, there's this kind of a depression, and there's some area that has been eroding away, and it's right next to this pole with the guide wires. I think Tesla wants to correct this particular location, and this is where the construction is going to take place and what this permit is for. Now, the good thing is this is very close to where I launch and land the drone when I'm flying on the south side. So if I'm correct, I should be able to get some really good views of this in the near future. So anyway, there's a recap of some of the news items over the last couple of days, some big events that have happened at Giga Texas, some corrections to what you've been hearing on social media news sources, and a new permit that I'm going to be watching for here at Giga Texas. So I hope you found all of this information useful. And so without further ado, let's get into the drone and see what's going on at Giga Texas today. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Good morning from the east side here. It's a beautiful day at Giga Texas. We're looking at the construction site on the left-hand side of the screen of the multi-level parking garage that will be built here fairly soon. We also see some water in the channels and some interesting earth-moving items on the left-hand side of the screen. Just going off of the picture, it looks like that may be for some pier drilling, so that'll be something I'll look for later in the week. In this section, the manifold underneath the ground with these concrete pipes continues to develop, and you can see how they're filling the dirt back in on top of the gravel and on top of those concrete pipe segments. The new car staging and transportation lot is still empty, and the trucks are still idle. However, production is resuming, and we can see that by looking at the top of the screen, and all of the Model Ys and even a Cybertruck in the testing and calibration lot. So this is a great sign as production starts to ramp back up. This is also a good view of just some of the construction here near this water detention pond that actually has water in it right now. A very beautiful view of that tree reflection. But we get a sense of the testing and calibration lot, the number of Model Ys. I estimate there's about 50 of them here. Looks like the end-of-line tent for the exit from the testing and calibration lot is being set up. The other tent on the upper left is looks like it's getting ready to go. It looks like maybe a generator is set up as well. We can see many Model Ys at the superchargers. We also see a Cybertruck. I know that the trunk is open, or the frunk is open. People want me to get a view of that. Unfortunately, I was not positioned correctly to be able to get the drone at this point, but we'll come back and get a closer view a little later in the video. But this is a good view of the east side here, where the multi-level parking garage large clearing is drying out. So maybe they'll start work again, maybe putting some gravel here and then getting ready for those piers to be started to be drilled, which would be the next phase of this construction. On the east side, we can see more materials have been delivered. Again, this is always a very busy part of the factory. That white stain continues to move towards the north as they apply that to the exterior walls. On the bottom left, we can see the excavation work and removal of concrete to extend this road section to marry up with the new concrete road section that goes off to the intersection on the left-hand side of the screen. We can also see how the south end is developing. There's a new tank that was delivered yesterday, and we'll get a closer view of that shortly. The entire south end, how it looks today, and also the factory itself is a good view of that white stain on the east side as well. It's about halfway the length of the building as from this vantage point. As I bring the drone down to take a look at the south end, and there's a lot of interesting details going on. First, we can see all of the rebar cages and some of the forms for the footings still waiting for their time to be installed. Some of the steel items on the right-hand side of the screen, we can see that the blue wall panels have replaced the windows on this end of the building. And here's that new tank. It's a third. This one has some of the white wrapping on it, but it's essentially the same tank as the other two. And I'm not sure exactly where these are going to be installed, but at least 3 of them will be here pretty soon. As I pan back towards the west side, this gives you a good view of all the windows, how that has been removed, how the south end is developing. There is some excavation work on the left near the cyber pond, and I will show you that a little later. And then with the lighting, this is a great view of the Stamping 2 extension, the cargo door that's open on this end, all of the yellow wall panels that are being installed. It's about halfway across the face of the Stamping 2 structure. I'll bring the drone up because I wanted to see what they are doing here on the roof. Looks like maybe they're starting to prepare to install the weatherproof membrane and some of the insulation panels on that roof decking. As I bring the drone back down, we'll take a look at this south end. A lot of the water is still drying up from the recent rains. Much more equipment has been delivered here, is being prepared for use. And as I mentioned, here's this excavation work that is going on just to the north of the cyber pond. And this is also just above where they have the underground stormwater pipe that was positioned because of all of the construction work. So it looks like maybe they're just preparing this area for more construction on this side. All of the rebar cages here, the cylindrical ones, show that there's at least a few more dozen of these CFA piers that need to be drilled. And here is yet another one preparing to start the drilling. Shortly after I was in this section, 2 more of the concrete trucks were delivered here, and they will be pumping in concrete into the bore that that device is about ready to make. And then the other crane will be putting those rebar cages down into that bore. We can see some more of the equipment on the left-hand side of the screen, some more deliveries here, and those crates on the right-hand side of the screen. The changing and developing section here where that underground well is and the concrete vaults. And also these 2 platforms have been very busy. When I arrived, there was a lot of equipment, especially on the lower one with crates getting ready to be moved inside. So this continues. However, there are some changes on this side of the building that I want to show you. We're still waiting for the steel ventilation ducting to be installed, but here next to where the forklift just came out of that door, we can see all of those push carts, those white and red ones that were in this entire area, have now all been moved back into the factory. Also looks like they're doing some work on one of the receiving doors. And then here is some more of the equipment ready to be installed. This section here, all of the materials have been now moved inside and installed, and that concrete work next to the wall has been completed as well. As we know, the main entrance is completed. Still waiting to see it light up, but for right now, not much to show. But here is a big news story. This is the end-of-line facility. That ramp is where brand new Model Ys are exiting the factory. We can see several of the Model Ys here, and a lot of the workers nearby here as well. Also, I could tell inside that there were Model Ys being built, and they were exiting through that ramp periodically. This is that point where the horizontal drilling exits from underneath the highway, and it looks like they're got some water still in that pit, but they're still working and preparing for this drilling operation. And you can see that across the highway, and here it is as a closer view. And it looks like they're preparing for more of the drilling on this side as well. The long black pipe, this HDPE pipe, has been fuse welded together, and it is now fairly long, almost long enough, I think, to go underneath the highway. We can see on the outbound lot more excavation work for that underground pipes and some of the vaults, also some of the material there. And then here, just to the north, we can see more excavation work for these steel corrugated pipes, which will also be part of the water management system that's being installed throughout this entire area. As we move back towards the new end-of-line facility, we can see several items that have changed, one of which is they're installing parts of that blue insulation. We're getting ready for the roof decking. We can also see the walls continue to expand. It looks like some garage doors on this side are starting to materialize as well. And I'm going to fly up over the building so you get a look down inside. You can tell that there are sections specifically right here that are open all the way across east to west. So a very large open bay is being prepared. They are also removing all of the wrapping material on top of the concrete here because it has now been cured. And they're preparing this final section for the moisture barrier rebar and then concrete. We can tell here on this portion of the site more of the geotextile membranes have been installed. That's that black material that you see on the center of the screen, and then they fill in the dirt. A lot of this is coming farther to from the farther to the southwest section, and they're continuing to extend this grade, level it up all the way over to the warehouse on wheels site, which you can see on the left. A lot of dirt is still being brought in to complete this work, and you can see more of that geotextile membrane right in the center of the screen as well. And this is really enhancing the entire size of this outbound lot and also this end-of-line facility, which, as we discussed last time, The permit is for this to be testing, calibration, and also to do some minor repair work as necessary prior to delivering the vehicles to the outbound lot. Here is a close-in view of these kind of cutout sections in the slab. I wanted to see what they're actually doing. It looks like each one of them has one white plumbing pipe, and then there's some other metal items sticking up through the ground and the moisture barrier. So something I'll continue to watch and see what develops there. More of the white painting on the steel on the inside continues, and the wall panels with the semi-transparent panels for windows on this side of the structure as well. So a lot of progress on the West Support Facility site and that end-of-line and outbound lots. As we continue to move towards the north along this side, I wanted to show you the staging yard and all the materials that continue to be stored here. Also the windows that were removed from the south side of the factory, and this is where they are storing them now. The road continues to be developed towards the north to connect with Tesla Road. On the left, all the steel items, and also the steel welding workshop has been dismantled. So that probably is indicating that whatever they were doing here now is no longer required. So we'll probably start seeing some of the steel maybe being moved over for construction on the main site. As we continue over towards where Farm to Market 973 and Tesla Road meet up, we can see how Tesla Road widening continues. Also, we can see how Farm to Market 973 to the north is being widened along the left-hand side of this road. As I turn around over this intersection, we can see how some of the older pavement has been ripped up here from Tesla Road that will be replaced to enhance this intersection. And of course, 973 is being widened all the way to the south as well. The land property that we see directly ahead of us is still part of Giga Texas, and it follows along here over to where the steel is located and along where Tesla Road is as well. Now I'm directly over Alamo Lone Star paving, and that is not part of Giga Texas. So here's a good view from this side of the highway looking back at Giga Texas. So let's get ready to cross back over the highway and resume the narration there. That was a good view over this particular intersection and the North Bridge, looking back where we came from, and then here on the north end of the main factory. And there's a lot of interesting details, starting here on the northwest corner where the windows have been removed, these two platforms, but you can also see some fencing around some of the equipment, some of these bins, some steel items on the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side. And the work inside to continue to construct and enhance the production capability of 4680s continues now, despite the fact that production is resuming. You can also see this section is getting its rebar and getting ready for the concrete to be poured. And then along the northeast corner of the building, we're seeing some deliveries, a lot of these man lift equipment, but also it looks like these rack mounts here with castings. It's the first time we've seen this in some time. I'll zoom in and try to figure out exactly what these are. I think they may still be Model Y castings, but I will let you figure out and decide for yourself based on what we could see with that zoom in image. As you can see, they're delivering some more items. I think these might be some of the ingots that are used to be melted down to make the castings. The windows have been removed. They're still on the racks on the ground here, and these windows were removed along this entire east side, as you can tell. And there's also some more deliveries for the furnaces that are being installed. I'll try to take this opportunity and just briefly look inside. You can tell that the furnace installation is continuing and how that looks through these open window section now. And then as we continue to fly up, I want to give you a quick view of the work that's going on here on the east side of the building, specifically the rack mounts for the castings. It looks like castings are now being produced again, which is another great sign for production. The zoom in shows you the conduit work that is going on here, more trenching, and then over to these vaults. You cannot tell that there's any wires in there right now, so it looks like they still have to finish up this conduit and the trenching before they can install the wires. And that will eventually connect all the way up to the second half, I believe, of the new switch yard, the electrical switch yard. This is a good view of these receiving doors, the load leveler systems, and that concrete loading platform that is being constructed, all that formwork, and then eventually this entire apron will be replaced. And here's some other views of the receiving doors that have already been completed, as well as some other excavation work near the wall section and this secondary main entrance. As I bring the drone down, I will give you a good close-in view look of the Cybertruck and also the Model Ys that are here on the testing and calibration lot. Here's a good zoom in so you can get a good view of the Cybertruck and some of the other Model Ys that are doing the supercharging. This Cybertruck looks like it's got some tape on the top of the front windshield. I'm not sure if that's part of the manufacturing process or if it's sort of a test or some other purpose. But here's a good zoom in so you get a good close-in view of how this particular Cybertruck looks. And I believe this is a different one than the one we saw supercharging on my previous video. And it's another great sign that they're getting really close to ginning up the Cybertruck production line. And then as I pull away with all of these Model Ys, this gives you a good view of the state of returning to production right now. I estimate at least 50 Model Ys are in this testing and calibration lot. We'll see some more on the left-hand side of the screen as well. There's activity with cones being put around the site. And also the testing track on the left-hand side of the screen is having Model Ys drive through that testing rack as well. And also we can see more of the Model Ys on this south end. So this is a good overall view of the number of Model Ys that have been produced over the last maybe day. And we'll see that continuing to ramp up as the employees finishing up their training and familiarization with all of the new equipment. In the outbound lot, there is still this Cybertruck. I believe this is the same one we saw on my previous video. Of course, in that one, the cover was off. The cover has been replaced now, but this will be a good close-in view of this particular one waiting for either transportation off-site or maybe some other purpose. Again, there's a Cybertruck in the outbound lot, but not much else right now. I think probably another day or two we're going to see quite a bit more vehicles in this lot. As I pan the drone back up, I want to show you something else, and this is related to production resuming here at Giga Texas. They had this nice display using a Model Y with the horns and this sign that says "Welcome back, Giga Texas," using some of the wheels. And this is where the employees come and go through this entrance, and then they go in for work. And it's just really nice to see that they're welcoming back all of the employees with this kind of a display. So pretty neat to see. The east parking lot is quite full, as you can tell, and as I pan further to the north, the overflow lot is also extremely full of vehicles. Yet another great sign about production resuming. Also, you can tell that more of the employees are lined up here waiting for the shuttle buses to take them over to that main entrance with the Model Y with the horns and that sign. There is some new underground steel corrugated pipe being installed on this section. It's going to parallel the road down to that large manifold that we saw earlier. It also looks like there's some work around the corner and the edge of the east parking lot right next to Tesla Road as well. As I continue to pull away, we're going to fly over the Martin Marietta concrete batch plant. We can see that temporary pond and the die shop, battery cathode plant, and the entire west side with the workshops, and all of the steel corrugated pipe will come into view here shortly. Still water in the middle of the entire west side from all that rain, and hopefully that will dry up soon. On the bottom of the screen, the work on the lift station and also some plumbing work, including the steel corrugated pipe, continues. And then on the left, you'll see on the ground those white pipes sticking up. That's where some more of that steel corrugated pipe's already been installed, and then the trenches filled back in. The chiller plant looks busy as normal. Again, on the north, we can see that new scaffolding with the stairs. Continued testing with temporary pumps and those blue pipes going on, and more of the work on top of the roof on the left-hand side of the screen. This concrete section continues to develop on the northeast side of the die shop, and more of the concrete's been poured, and it's kind of in that channel that might be for supporting some of the pipes that will connect over to the chiller plant. But again, that'll be something I'll watch. The furnace on the left continues to see some work, and the workshop to modify these steel pipes is busy as usual. As I turn around the corner of the die shop here on the west side, there's several interesting developments. First, we can see the blue trench boxes in the middle, some more of the steel corrugated pipe, and work with the trench and underground where the pipe's being installed. And on the left, we can see windows have been installed. At least looks like 6 of them right now. More of them are getting ready to be installed along this side of the building. In fact, one of them is being picked up and trying to be maneuvered right now. And hopefully, maybe by the end of the week, all of these windows will be installed. At the pace that they're going, it may certainly be by Friday. But it's great to see all the windows now being installed on this side, and more of the trench work with that underground steel corrugated pipe for the water management system. As I turn around, I'll show you just some of the underground manifolds here and the concrete vaults, how this looks, and how the west side as well. You can see where that window line on the die shop will wrap around the building to that section, and then that small corner will be the main entrance. All of the pneumatic blenders have been moved inside the south end of the battery cathode plant, and this is a good overall view of how this entire complex of structures looks today. Now, I did want to drop down here and show you this facility. As we mentioned in the intro, this is that temporary kitchen that was set up. It makes a lot of the food that's used to serve the employees inside. With that new permit for the Cyber Cafeteria, it's possible we'll see this in the near future start being dismantled if that cafeteria comes online and it can support the workers. The crash test facility is very busy today, and there's some exciting development on the north end. But right now, we'll start here. The structure that you see right in the middle of the screen is where the mechanical rooms are, and the machinery that pulls the cable that pulls the car to hit the crash wall, which you can see as that brown item right in the middle of the screen in the middle of this structure. As I bring the drone down, I will try to get you some better views inside, and just with this perspective, you can see the framework with some of the lighting system. On the left, you can see what looks to be a control room. They're using some of those concrete dividers and some glass walls. It looks like some equipment. This is a good view inside. You can just barely see a Cybertruck on the left-hand side, on the inside, possibly maybe getting ready for its crash test. And just a lot of other work inside here. Now, they just conducted the first crash test, and the vehicle is a Model Y, and we'll see that on the north end of the structure. As I zoom out, this gives you a good view of the east side of the crash test facility. We can see the outflow channel has been completed with concrete for that steel corrugated pipe. One more Cybertruck waiting for its fate in the crash testing facility. Here's the north end and how it looks. You can see that the Cybertruck has been removed from the rotisserie, and then where all those workers are, they're going to wave at us as well. This is the vehicle that was just crash tested, and they're doing some work on it. You can see some of the damage. You can see that the airbags have deployed, and also some of the testing marks, and it looks like they're doing some evaluation of the crash that took place. So pretty cool. And it's great to see that this facility is now operational, at least in the testing phase. As I pull away, this is a good view of this side of the cathode plant again with all of the containers and materials. The weigh pit is still not being used, and that cell test lab looks like it's possibly in operation now. As we continue to fly to the northeast, is a good view of all of the materials, those tanks, some of the dirt bits being piled up and then also the grade work that has continued in this particular side of the site. And overall, just continues to have this clearing done and some of the dirt being used over at that multi-level parking garage site as well. I'm going to move over towards the northwest. I want to show you part of this particular field. This is where it's permitted for the North Logistics lot. We can also see a lot of the materials that are waiting to eventually be moved in for more of the assembly lines in the factory. And then this section here has got a lot of the debris from the trees that have been removed from that large clearing that we just saw. And eventually this is all going to be mulched together and it will be cleared out for the next phase of construction when that begins. So let's fly over this part of the site and we'll approach over to the electrical switch yard and take a look at the activity there today. Some of the LCRA utility crews continue to be busy next to these three steel poles, particularly this one here with those horizontal beams. The trench work looks like it's nearly completed. They are filling in some of it. They're working at the base of the tower, and this is where some of the connections through the conduit will go all the way over to the north part of the Megapack system. In fact, here you can see some of the trench work that goes along the tree lines and connects over to that north part of the Megapack site. So as I zoom back out, there's a good view of the new permanent electrical switch yard. About half of it is operational right now. The other half with the transformer closest to us is still waiting to be connected. You can tell that the disconnects on the right hand side of the screen are not connected, whereas the other transformer is. And on the south side, this underground vault and the control trailers looks like it's for the most part completed for right now. Now I had a request to take a look at the temporary switch yard, specifically this part here, to see if we can tell if any of the disconnects are not connected, and if that would tell us whether or not the temporary switch yard is being used or not. And I really couldn't tell from that view, but if you do, let me know in the comments section. As I fly over the power lines and I'll bring the drone down, this is a good view of the north end site part of the Megapacks and how it looks today. There's also a brand new trailer that has just been delivered, and I believe this is going to be part of the control room for the Megapack site and also that large electrical system on the north end. As I pull back, a couple things that you'll notice besides the Megapacks and the transformers is all the lighting has now been installed on either side along the perimeter fencing and also on this south end. And it looks like they're pretty much done with the wiring, and we might start seeing some gravel being moved into this to finish up the ground treatment as well. So a lot of progress on the Megapack site and also the new permanent electrical switch yard, and connections are continuing to be made, and we saw some of that on the northeast side of the building as well. So that's a pretty good look, a wide-ranging view all across the site today. The big news is production has resumed. There's about 50 Model Ys and a couple of Cybertrucks, and that's only going to ramp further from here. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed what we talked about and what we saw, and as always, have a great week.